someone growing might think that the norm in his own culture is the utmost superior over all others. And as time goes on, one might think that he had forgotten or he might ignore the condition and environment that might have shaped how other people think and behave. I too once thought that way. Born and raised in a Hausa cultural landscape of northern Nigeria, I used to think that my language is the most eloquent, and that it is only we that can learn others' language fluently. Because of that, I used to think that my culture is the ultimate reference point for all others. Any suggestion that others might have surpassed us met in a disregard or inacceptance. And it was because of that that sometimes I felt as if I am living in an island of sufficiency. Yet, paradoxically, from a young age, I rise with greater curiosity in the world. I could remember a moment when I was in primary 3. Our classroom teacher once asked the class, "What is Africa?" The class paused. After some time, it was only me that raised my hand up. When the teacher pointed at me, I said, "Kasar Bagajan Pata." My native language, it means the land of dark-skinned people. To my surprise, the teacher applauded the answer and asked the class to clap for me. That was my first public display of geography awareness. I was inspired by some of the books I found owned by my father. They are scattered like this, text like Taswira domin jihohin Sokoto, Kano, Kaduna da Bauchi, meaning map for the students of the states of Sokoto, Kano, Kaduna, and Bauchi. And an old history book that have so many maps and many old names. We remember names like Tanganyika, Zaire, Abyssinia, Dahomey, among others. Despite my early interest in geography and curiosity about the world, my views of other cultures remain narrow for many years. There was an incident when I was in senior secondary school for 2. A co-member was posted to our secondary school to teach as a primary assignment of that co-member under the program of National Youth Service Corps. I could remember the dress of that co-member is contrary to the norm in my society. So I contemplate to go ahead and contradict and inform head-on that co-member the mode of dressing is contrary to our society and it should not be. In spite, I sought a counsel from our Islamic religious knowledge teacher. He gave me a simple answer. Be patient. This is how they dress in their region. Though unconvincing at that time, but the answer planted a seed of tolerance in me and instilled inside me the sense of thinking about variability of mode of dressing with respect to variability of regions. The transformation began to come when I was doing my master's degree. Though my first degree in geography brought into me some sense of regional curiosity, but the real transformation and understanding of what regions come when I was doing my master's degree. At that time, I read and explore world and its different regions and realms. Doing that, I read about Indian subcontinent. I found something that struck. So many and diverse gods, so many and diverse ethnic groups, so many and diverse languages, even so many and diverse landforms. But when you look critically, you see that those people are historically interconnected. I also read about the old world and new world, the relationship between the two. Old world means the continent of Asia, continent of Africa, and the continent of Europe. While new world means the continent of North America, continent of South America, and the continent of Oceania. I come to realize that old world had stayed for millennia in ignorance of the entire true continent of the new world. And I come to realize also that the tradition, religion, and even scientific system that now overwhelm the globe were initiated in the old world without any reference to new world. Then I began to ask myself, had I been born in the Korubo tribe of the Tabari Valley is between Peru and Brazil. People there, up to today, are living in a kind of primitive society. They have little also contact with the world we are enjoying today. And also, I also ask myself, what if I was born among the Tagalong people in the desert of Western Australia? Or what will happen to me even if I were born in the Longyearbyen, an outpost in the distant Norwegian towns in far northern continent of Asia? This made me reshape my thinking. These questions actually reshaped my thinking about human identity. I used to ponder and think about Easter Island and Chile, a far distant island inside the Pacific Ocean. I learned that in that island, over 1,000 years before contact with anyone from outside the world, the people in Easter Island were able to construct a majestic Maori statue. This made me think that the views we have of other cultures actually filled with so many bias, especially when we consider ourselves to be like an island, thinking better or doing better than others. There are two books while I was studying the complexity of the world that actually knocked into my mind and made me transformed. One is written by Walter Rodney. We call the book How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And the other one is a book by Darren Acemoglu and Robinson. Their book is called Why Nations Fail. While Walter Rodney exposed the colonial root of subjugation countries, which led them into underdevelopment, especially in Africa, Acemoglu and Robinson highlighted that internal policies and leadership is also important and paramount. These two books made me think twice, because during my thesis at PhD level, I also come to learn that growth, progress, and development of countries is not about where or where a nation starts. It depends upon consistent effort put by the country in order to achieve growth and development. Hence, I evolved from simple Afrocentric pessimist into a realist and constructive idealist. In politics, I used to remain skeptical and suspicious about United States of America's influence over the world. But when I was reading about the history of nations or how the world was and how it is today, as well as when I was reading about the geohistory of communities, I found a ripple of effect that every society or civilization have upon others over the globe over time. I come to realize that the Greek Empire cut across the entire three continents of the old world. And up to today, after the fall of the empire about one millennium, the impact of that empire is still seen across the globe. What if I was at the time of the hegemony of the great Greek Empire? How will I feel about it if I'm living in a periphery? The same way with the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. These empires have influenced the global architecture, global laws, and even the people's perception of one another from millennia ago up to today. And also, I read about how the empires of Incas, Mayans, and Aztecs influenced the New World. So that I found even the Fulani Empire of West Africa have an indelible mark on societies for centuries. Therefore, every realm of the world have a certain influence depending upon the size and depth of that influence over the globe, but still remain up to this time. And it will continue to be happening as time goes on, as far as humanity is in existence. There is also one thing that I want to share with us, which also changed me while I was reading about the complexity of the world and how the globe is. Once I have an encounter with a Bhutanese person. You know, Bhutan is a country. That person was asking me, is Africa right now out of all the hunting and gathering communities that it used to have? To him, up to today, most of Africa is living under the condition of hunting and gathering economic society. You know anything about Africa, and this is how obviously it is, and this is how we sometimes look into one another, while the reality is contrary to that. Hence, I want also cite one important episode and share, and I want to share it with us regarding the complexity and diversity of human societies, as well as human civilization. If you look at the world map, you are going to see that all the continents can be interconnected. One can pass from Africa to Asia, from Asia to Europe, from Asia and Europe to South America, to North America, from there to South America. There are only few places and short distances, or compare it with the remaining part of the world that disconnect one continent from another. This means the entire civilization has begun from one place and dispersed all over. How can one be superior to other? It is only that one is ahead of other because he is lucky to start before the other. That is why, in conclusion, I want to tell you that my study of world religions teaches me to understand, not to judge. Teaches me to embrace the diverse and vast human experiences that share all across the globe. And also, it taught me to embrace all cultures and live with a profound gratitude and respect to my own culture and all others that live with it in this small but complex planet we call home. Thank you.